This is the Ridgehunteroutdoors podcast. Hey everybody, this is episode 51. Got a good one for you tonight. We're going to be talking about, we'll give some updates on what Jeff's been seeing. He's been out in the woods a little bit. We'll get a shop update like normal, and then we'll see where it goes. But first, we were talking a little bit before about buck I got on camera, and it reminded you of the first buck that you'd killed. One of the first bucks that you'd killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you started to tell the story, but I wanted you to wait, so continue.
Well, you was talking about one of the points that broke off that buck you had on camera.
Yep.
And how, you was thinking about maybe fixing it yourself whenever if you harvest that deer, bringing it to the shop and you can fix it yourself. And I was going to tell you that it reminded me of my first mountable buck that I killed, 16-pointer.
Yeah.
And it had a point that was broke off. And I had your mom put a point on it. Well, it looks fine, but you can still tell it's just not natural, And I wish now I just left it the way that it was.
Yeah. Well, when you got 15 other points, this one doesn't have that many points. So
Right.
he needs all the help he can get.
And I guess apparently you haven't heard this story, so you want me to share it. I know you've heard it before.
I don't think they've heard it.
But whenever...
We've done 50 episodes, and I don't think they've heard it.
Well, there's probably a reason
We've done
for
50 episodes. We've heard it.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I remember there was a cold front coming in. It was after a tornado went through. Was it that spring?
Wait a minute.
No, it was that spring. Remember the tornado went
Yeah,
through?
yeah, I remember.
Because I was supposed to have been on the river fishing.
What were you doing hunting in the springtime?
I wasn't.
That was Alt 1.
Yeah.
Alt 1.
Alt 1.
Yeah.
Yep. And me and Buddy was running nets on the river, and we were supposed to have been down there that day fishing. But we decided that we'd watch the NASCAR race first. Well, it's a good thing we did, or we'd been sucked up and ended up in Kansas or wherever the hell we would have ended up at. Because the nader went right down the river where we was fishing at.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we lost all our nets and all this stuff. So anyways, that fall.
Wait, for those of you unfamiliar with redneck slang, nader is another word for tornado.
Yeah. And since we are east of Kansas, you may or may not have ended up in Kansas. Naders don't go west. I've never seen a nader go west.
And depending on which side of the nader I flipped out of.
Well, it's your story. I just thought I'd translate for some of our less cultured viewers, listeners.
If I'd flipped out on that side, I might have landed in Kansas.
You could have, yeah.
Well, we're already in Kansas.
Yeah, so there.
We're on the state line,
basically.
So anyways, that fall during deer season, me and a buddy of mine decided we was going to go bow hunting. He was going to take me down there, and we was going to bow hunt. So I had never been bow hunting down there, but I knew the area from fishing. I knew there was good deer down there. So we go packing in half a mile with our bows and our climbers, and back then we didn't have the Summit climbers. We had them steel heavy-ass climbers, and we crossed the creek and that, and I get there, and there ain't no trees to climb. Nader done took her out. And so there was nothing but brush piles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw the climber down. I was aggravated. I was like, I might as well just go home. But he went on down the creek and found him a place that he could climb. So there he is, and I'm sitting in this brush pile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lo and behold, about an hour and a half into it, here comes a pickup truck down on the other side. And it was somebody surveying the damage, talking about how they was going to clean the creek out so that way the water could flow and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe this is happening to me. So they up and leave. Well, then the cold front comes through, and it's starting to ice and snow and sleet and carry on. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just ready to go to the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And about 5 minutes after that, here come this buck. Didn't even know he was around. He come walking up there, started working a scrape. It's like, old buddy, I'm going to let you have it.
Yeah.
I was shooting high country then.
Right.
That split limb high country. I was so cold, And I drew back, and I tried to shoot him wherever I shot. I don't know if it was me or if I hit a limb that I didn't see. But anyways, I did a Chucky Barnett heart shot on him. If you don't know what a Chucky Barnett heart shot is I went through both hams. Yeah.
Yellow.
He dropped his butt in, and he went real loud. He took off running into the ground he wasn't supposed to be on. I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. And then he turned right back around, come right back to me, and died 15 yards from my brush pile.
Really?
Yeah. So my buddy, we had a little walkie-talkies, and he hollered at me on the walkie-talkie. He said, "What the hell was that?" So, "What do you mean?" "Well, that noise." And I said, "I just killed a buck." "No, you didn't." I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "I'm sitting here looking at him."
Yeah.
So he finally got down. We gathered it all up. By this time, it's just ice, and this temperature's dropping fast. We had to drag him across the creek, so we dragged him through the creek and up the bank to the pickup truck that he walked and got and drove back with the heater on while I'm still there gathering everything else up. We get our stands, or I get our stands. I start walking across the creek while I tripped over some honeysuckle stuff. I landed face first in water. Trying to fetch our climbers up. He's standing up there laughing at me. Get that all gathered. Yeah, get that all gathered up. And by the time we got everything loading, my coveralls and everything, there's just ice. And I was so cold. And we couldn't just bring it up here to the shop. Oh, no, we had to drive around town and show it to everybody.
That's against the law just to bring something straight in.
Yes, and there I am.
You got to do it with a tailgate down.
Oh yeah, we had to take time to.
You cannot.
We had to take time to get him positioned just right. So everybody thought that he shot that deer, and then they was all shocked that whenever it's like, no, I killed it. Yeah. You know, but we had to go around town for 2 hours.
You get a pretty good fine for putting the tailgate up if you got a buck in the truck.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think it
appears so. Because you never see anybody with the tailgate up with a buck in the truck.
No.
It's always down, the head's hanging. If it is, they got the head propped up where the horns are hanging out the side of the bed.
But you got to prop the head up on the wheel wells if the tailgate's down.
Well, if it's a small one, yeah. Right.
But no, you know, so anyways, yeah, we had to get that positioned for show and everything else. And finally, I just told him, bring the damn thing up here to the shop. I am cold. I am ready to go home. So that's what we did. But, you know, all in all, it was a good hunt, one I'll never forget. And it was my first mountable buck. I think he ended up scoring in the 140s. You know, and he was a typical 6x6, but he had some clusters like a starfish down at his base. And it added 4 more points to him. But, yeah. Anyways, that one point was broke off his G down there by the end. And
what is that? G what?
The hell out. It was down there on the end.
Okay, G down there on the end.
Yeah, okay.
It was broke off, and I had Lisa fix it. And looking back, I mean, it looks fine, but looking back, I think I wish now I just left it original.
Well, I got that one over there that I killed a couple of years ago now that's all broke off on that one side, and I just left him. But that's a deer I didn't know either. And I'm pretty sure I know this deer. And, you know, I know him from last year, so I don't know. If I kill him, I'll decide then, but I think I might try to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, to each his own. If you got pictures to go by, see, back then we wasn't running cameras back then.
Yeah.
You know, no, the first time we seen that deer was
when you shot him.
I killed it.
Yeah, right.
And so she didn't have nothing to go by. You know, we didn't. It's just like, well, let's just try to make it even with the G5 or whatever it was across.
Right.
On the other.
That's a broadhead.
Yeah, well, it is, but on the other main beam, you know, and go from that.
Well, you talk about the tailgate down thing. You didn't have Facebook and Instagram back in the day, so you had to show it off somehow.
Right.
Yeah. Not that they don't still do that, but
we didn't have to spend 3 hours when the temperature dropped down 10 degrees, and I'm a block of ice. So
the deer was probably a block of ice by the time you got
He was.
Yeah, that's really nice too.
Yeah. Well, it makes them easy to skin and cape.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, we never get any like that.
I killed a decent deer in the Bose timber a long time ago, and it had a bunch of junk on it that was broke, and Lisa just kind of finished out the junk. It looks really nice.
Yeah. Well, it did.
Well, it did.
Taken apart now, ain't it?
No. not quite.
Oh, I thought it was.
I'm looking for another cape for it now, but the rack, I forget what happened to it. I know where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing it.
Have to redo it and hang it back up again.
Yep.
Run out of space to hang them. I don't know.
It happens.
I ain't had that problem yet.
No. Well,
Well,
might
I
if you
ain't
shoot a
hanging
couple
them at the
more.
house. I'm talking about up here.
No.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can bump a couple of mine if I shoot if I get either one of those bucks this year. But there was something else that I was going to say before you mentioned that, but I don't remember what it was. But anyway. No, if you hear that weird kind of sound like these things moving around, that's going to be taken care of hopefully soon. We're getting some upgraded equipment here. So we're getting a little better maybe. Hopefully it'll make it a little bit better. But no,
It's not bothering me. Is it bothering you?
Ain't bothering me.
You
What was
mentioned the frozen deer, bringing them in here, which I thought was a decent segue into what we've been seeing at the shop. I know there were a couple of decent deer in, one for sure shooter and one at least borderline that come in this past week.
Ah, yes.
One really pretty wide buck and then another one, pretty good 8 or 9.
Yeah, decent deer. And mostly skinhead still yet. The bucks that we've seen this week, I would say probably wasn't even pre-rut. Maybe pre-rut, but probably not. Nothing to write home about, just a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest buck that I've seen, well, for sure the biggest one I've skinned out was a youth season deer still. And I had seen pictures of it, and the pictures didn't really do it justice. It was really nice
Which
deer.
would be 2 weekends ago.
Yeah. Which it's an upper 60s, I think. Pushing up against 170 probably. Heavy. It's not incredibly wide, but heavy and tall. And carried its mass out pretty far.
It carried mass very well.
Mhm.
Sure did.
Yeah, it was a really nice deer.
But that deer was swelled up. If it was like the 1st of November, I'd say he's rutting hard. But
Yeah, he's a big old deer. I think.
definitely pre-rut.
I know one guy that I talked to quite a bit, that talked about a little bit before the podcast. He's been seeing some more mature deer. He was telling me last night he saw a decent 4.5-year-old, and then tonight saw a really mature buck that he's going to put his old man on. That is kind of an interesting deer. I'll show you guys pictures of it when we get done if I remember. But so even though we're in kind of that lull period, there are some moving if you're in the right spot. I have been I went yesterday and saw one deer as I was getting out of the truck, and I went the night before that and saw 6 or 7 just 2 little bucks, one little forkhorn, and then I did see what I believe to be one of my shooters driving out on the neighbor's property, but nothing from the stand. So, and I talked a little bit about it. I did the Full Draw Friday episode earlier today, recorded it for tomorrow, and talked a little bit about I'm just kind of staying out of the best spots right now and trying to play it a little bit safe. But I know, Jeff, you've been out the last few nights. We'll start with last night, though, because you had kind of an interesting setup. Well,
in the
unorthodox. Yeah.
Yeah, it's by my house, and I found an inside corner of some standing corn that joins up against the woods and a ditch.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's on my sister's property, so I can hunt there, no problem. Well, I got down there, and they have just tore that corner up. And there's some water in that ditch, so I'm assuming that's one of the main reasons, because we're in a big-time drought.
If you got water right now, you're probably going to find the deer.
Yeah.
That's another thing that guy was telling you about, told me. He said, if you've got green food and water right now, you've got the deer.
Yeah.
At least that's what he's seen.
And, they got paths going in and out of the neighbor's woods there and crossing the ditch, and there's a cut bean field on the west side of the ditch. Well, the way the wind was blowing at 25 knots an hour yesterday, my only option was really, the best option was to sit in the cornfield. And so the way the rows was running and stuff, I sat probably 15 foot inside the standing corn.
Mm-hmm.
Found me a little opening there and put my seat. By the way, that seat I got off you for it's the boss seat.
I think so.
Yep. It's a trifold seat with a backrest.
Mm-hmm.
And if you enjoy ground hunting like I do, or even hunting out of blind, that is the way to go.
It's pretty.
It sits good. It's just the right height.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that backrest. It's really comfortable, and it's real lightweight to carry in.
Yeah, and you can move around in it too.
You can move around.
It doesn't swivel or anything, but like you can, like if
You
you're
can
going
twist.
even a regular compound bow, you can twist.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
good.
just a tripod seat, so
Yeah.
it is. And so, anyways, love that seat. Best $30 I spent. So, anyways, I set that up. Like, looked down the rows to that corner, but then I kind of had a blind spot where I was expecting the deer to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just ever so gently pushed a few of the standing stalks out of the way.
Well, they didn't have any corn left on them, did they?
No.
No.
And, moved them out of the way so I had a shooting lane to where I was expecting the deer to come out. And
Right.
it was a really good setup. I took some pictures and showed you guys, and I was really proud of it.
Yeah, I'll put the picture you sent us. Either
The deer wasn't as proud of it as I was because they didn't show up.
Well,
but
they'd obviously been in there.
they've been in there. I did see some. I think they crossed the ditch before they got to me, and they went out into the cut bean field because I seen them coming from the southeast, working their way west, northwest. They was probably 100 yards from me by the time I saw them, so I knew there was nothing I could do with them except sit there and watch them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, sometimes you just gotta, try something new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you got to lose?
Especially this time of year, if you're not in a spot where you're worried about bumping your main buck, like if you're in a safe spot to do it and you're just looking for something different, it keeps your interest too, and it keeps you a little more focused even. And
I don't have no main buck there. I was just
right.
I was just hunting meat.
Yeah.
That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm still doing.
Mm-hmm.
But venison.
I didn't say a word. Did I? Did I say anything?
I was gonna let it slide.
No, but
I did.
I know your thought process.
You have no. Well,
I've known you for 35 years. I know your thought process. But
go ahead with your story.
anyways, yes, I'm just meat hunting right now, and so in places like that where you don't have a target buck, and you're just trying to put something on the scoreboard or in the deep freeze, however you want to look at it. Don't be afraid to try something different.
Yeah.
It might work out, it might not. If it don't work out, you ain't lost nothing.
Exactly. You haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was talking about, like not hunting your best spots right now, because why take a chance of ruining that for the best hunting of the year that's coming up here in the next week to 2 weeks, So, but then you got back out. Oh, like I was going to say, I'll put that picture that you took and send us either on Facebook or I'll make it this episode picture. Because it's kind of a cool picture just to see the setup you're talking about and using some natural stuff as a blind.
Right.
As long as they didn't come right down your row from behind you, you were all right.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, why would any deer do that?
Because the Sons of Guns did it tonight.
So, tonight's hunt. You went out, where were you at? Same general area?
Yeah, it's probably
A little west of there?
a half mile northwest of there on the creek. Because I was thinking, well, okay, let's go to a bigger water source.
Did you cross the bridge?
Yes.
And then you were on the
I was on the north side of the bridge,
which side of the road?
west side of the road.
Okay. Yep.
Walked back in there about quarter of a mile. And I was between two bedding areas. As I was walking in there, you got the creek, and it's got some cutoffs, what we call cutoffs, which is old dry creek beds, that they cut off and levied up and stuff, where they straighten the creek out. So there's filter strips through there, but between the cutoffs, the filter strip's about 80 yards across till you get to the field. And then, of course, the field is standing corn. Well, I was walking through there about 4 o'clock. I knew about where I wanted to go. And as I was on my way, I looked up and I seen a big old doe step out of the corn into one of them cutoffs. Thought, well, I'm not going to go where I wanted to go, but maybe I can cut her off, get in there where it's narrowed down, and and maybe I can catch her in the timber because she wasn't spooked. She didn't know I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Thought maybe if nothing else, she went in to get a drink of water. I can catch her moseying around and put a bolt through her.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in there, didn't spook nothing. Sitting on top of the levee. I'm about, that's probably 10 yards from me to the edge of the filter strip, but it is thick stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the creek is just right there over the levee. So I see down the creek. There's a sandbar on the other side, good place for the deer to cross, good crossing there. I'm sitting there on the levee with my back up against a maple tree and my tripod boss chair.
Mm-hmm.
And I was texting you, and you said, yeah, it looks like a good setup. And I'm like, yeah, I think so, as long as nothing comes up from behind me.
Mm-hmm.
About 6 o'clock this evening, about time deer are start moving,
Yeah.
I heard twigs snap behind me. And I thought, oh, crap. And so I just ever so slowly peep around the maple tree, and there she was, about 5 feet from me. We was eyeball to eyeball. And what do you do in that situation? I just ducked my head and looked down, hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she jumped back off, and she couldn't have been on the bottom side of the levee, on the berm, or she couldn't have been on the outside of the levee. Oh, no, she had to be right there with me. Well, she jumped down off the levee back the way she come and stood out there about 20 yards from me in the brush, and she blew, and she blew, and she blew. And she kept blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I was like, well, this hunt's ruined. Anything that
Right.
is coming should have already been here, and she's done ruined it for me. I thought,
And if they were on their way, they turned around to find out. Yeah.
So I thought, I ain't got nothing to lose. I might as well just spin around, throw my crossbow up, and try a Hail Mary shot if I get a chance, and that didn't work out either. So she ran out there.
Wait. You just kind of glossed over that didn't work out. What do you mean?
Huh?
Did you fling a bolt to Timbuktu, or did you just not get a shot off?
No, I just didn't get a shot off.
Okay.
I mean, she is on high alert. She had me pinned down.
Yeah.
She knew it.
Quick draw.
Yeah. Should have hip shot her, but
Yeah.
I was trying to be ethical about this.
Yeah.
As you should.
And so, I just didn't have nothing else to lose, and so I just spun around and tried to find her in the scope real quick, and that was all.
She was gone, huh?
She took out there in the filter strip, and then she stood out there 60 yards and blew, and finally I just packed up my stuff, and I walked out there, and I hollered, just get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
What is with you and these old dogs that blow all the time?
I don't know, but I'm really had my fill of
You need to start shooting them.
I know it. So then top it off, make things even worse. It was
Or
still,
better, depending on how
it
you
was
look.
still legal shooting hours, so I still had my arrow and my crossbow. I thought, I can hunt my way to the truck. Maybe, just maybe, I might catch something that didn't hear all the commotion, between here and the truck. So I'm walking through there, didn't see nothing. I get to the truck. I'm like, well, all right, I'll discharge my arrow. No, my discharge arrow's gone. Can't find it nowhere. So I lost it somewhere. Just $20 arrow gone.
Yeah.
Lighted knock, all that stuff. Now it's out there somewhere. Who knows?
Discharge tip.
Yeah, discharge tip that you just got me a few weeks ago. So that's all gone. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to shoot one of my broadheads into the dirt. And I'm only half a quarter from the house. Surely I can make it there without
Discharging
my crossbow and Mr. Tim driving by and catching me or anything like that.
Well, I'm sure it was locked, right?
Yeah, I locked it, but still.
Not the first time he's discharged anything in his truck, I'm sure.
Anyway, back to the crossbow.
But it's been a long time.
Never heard anything like that crossbow would.
No. So
Anyway.
anyways, I'm driving
Not
home.
near that fast.
I'm driving home, half a quarter to the house. Look over there. There's a doe 15 feet off the road with her arm up, pointing at her side. Here, shoot me. I even stopped the truck and looked at her, and I was like, God damn it. So then I get up there by the end of my woods, and I happen to look down there, and there's a big deer standing like 15 feet from my stand that I got at the north end of the property, feeding on the beans
That he wasn't in.
that I wasn't in.
Yeah.
And so I just got home. I said, heck with it. I'm done.
Wrap it up for the night.
Wrap it up for the night. Come up here, entertain y'all. Buy a discharge arrow off of you because my crossbow's still hanging up in the closet, cocked and ready to go.
Oh, boy.
I ain't even going to try tomorrow. I'm done.
No?
No.
No. Your misery is our entertainment. If that makes it any better.
I ain't seen no bucks. Everything I've got on camera is about a half hour before shooting light or an hour after shooting light. So,
Speaking of cameras, I don't have anything on the food plot to speak of.
No, we had
Certainly nothing of daylight.
We had 3 does.
Yeah, maybe
it was
it's
like
just
6 in the morning.
Yeah, it was before daylight. And did we have one picture of a couple does during daylight? And that was it.
It was
This time?
earlier. It wasn't this week. It was
Okay.
last week.
So we haven't had anything moving through there during shooting hours anyway.
We got so much standing corn around us.
That's what I was going to
Right.
say. I think it's a matter of what's around right now. What's that?
Every location that I hunt, whether it's Hamilton County or they're around the house, is standing corn.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it is kicking my butt.
I'm not disappointed in the food plot. I have considered moving my camera to the north edge of the woods, but it's not a cell camera, so I don't want to go in there and check it all the time. I just soon leave that alone, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that oak flats.
With shotgun season coming up, in a couple weeks, and actually here in a couple weeks.
Couple 6 weeks or so.
Well, close. Yeah.
Well, here in a couple
Weekend
weeks,
before Thanksgiving.
4 weeks.
by November 1st, where I'm at down in Hamilton County by that state property, it's
Yeah.
going to fill up with hunters.
Yeah.
And so I always try to pull my camera out of there before they show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought whenever I do that,
I'm not real sure what you're worried about. All good, honest people.
yeah. But anyways, whenever I do that, well, then I'm going to put my camera down there on the north end. And then we can see what goes on down there during shotgun season. I got a good idea what goes on down there during shotgun season, but, at least we can see what's there and maybe have an idea of what we can hunt after shotgun season's over with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious to see if there's anything at the farm. I know there is in the springtime. They bed there a lot, but I don't
There's
know.
a guy that's got a stand there, and he kills big deer every year. And then there's Jeff's buddy who knows a lot about the property, but's never been on it.
Be
But
my
he-
ex-brother-in-law.
He knows where the creek runs. He knows where it turns at. He knows who hunts there. But he'd like to hunt there sometime.
But anyway,
He kills nice deer, too.
He's a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
well, you need to put
He's
a camera
veteran.
up and
He's
then
a
go
good
hunt
guy.
it.
Yeah, I got no
Yeah.
problem with him at all.
No.
My luck, I'd shoot a horse.
For those of you that don't know, that's our producer, Hunter. That's my sister that runs Sick Ink here in town that made the studio for us. So she's jumping on tonight since Nate's not here. He's dealing with baby issues tonight. Well, I don't want to call them issues, but he had a sick baby. Nothing serious, but he was staying home to help Mom out with that. So
I had those 25 years ago.
give or take.
Never had that privilege.
Privilege, problem, however you want to look at it.
Well,
Certainly a privilege. Now it's a problem.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I know there's deer there. I don't.
For a
those
10-acre
guys-
property, she's got quite a few deer there.
Well, it's in a good spot, I think.
It's a great spot.
We
and
know on the neighbor's property well, I've hunted it before and seen deer on it. Nothing big, but I only hunted it once or twice. So.
But it's surrounded by beans this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they looked really pretty last time I was up there, so hopefully.
I
do
just hate to
usually-
run the guys out that's been hunting since
Mm-hmm.
it's family ground. My grandmother had it.
They don't go up there and bow hunt, though, most of the time.
I've tried to kind of hint around to when they hunt and when they don't, and I think they got it. I know they have stand in there. I don't know anybody that climbs in there.
We
But-
found a couple stands this spring.
But the guys that have permission, I think they just shotgun hunt it. So it'd be interesting to spend a weekend up there and hunt it. But like I can
I
get a
know one of
weekend
the-
away.
One of the stands I saw up there a few years ago, you could have paid me to climb up there and sit in that thing. The way it was hanging and set up.
It's not there now.
It's not there.
I killed a deer there a few years ago, matter of fact.
The one thing about that property, though, with the people that are there, is that they treat it like it's their own property.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, they watch it like a
they
hawk.
watch it like a hawk. If there's somebody new comes in,
They know
you
it.
know it.
I know it. They
Yeah.
know it. Yeah, and I don't want to upset that. I'm okay with what they do, you
Right.
know, and so I don't want to change that. And it's
They hunt the woods though, and I
Yes.
think if you sat more in the pasture side, you could see quite a bit too.
yeah, they hunt on the south side of the creek.
Yeah.
There's definitely deer on the north. Well, there's deer all over that, but
They run that.
That's
fence
where
pretty
I'd
good.
sat.
yeah,
Both fences.
Well, that's
Pretty
where
good.
I shot that deer. I was on the south side of the creek, actually. Me and Tubbsy went up there. Did you go?
No.
This that time?
I don't think so.
Well, that's pretty. I, think
I
we
went
did.
more by
We did.
myself than I went with anybody
Well,
else.
We went. He sat on one side and I sat on the other. And this doe come out at early, and I shot her at 20 yards on one side of the tree, and she died 20 yards to the other side of the tree. But it was just one of those deals where this is one of the first times that it had probably been hunted by us, and I thought, she's there, I'll kill her, just just cause. And we probably hadn't had it for very long at that time, because that's getting to be several years ago now. But we're gonna go check it out this weekend, aren't we?
Sunday, I think.
And see what's out there. I've also got 3 more. They're nothing fancy about them, cameras, not cell cameras or anything to put up. I'm gonna try to really get an idea of what those deer are doing, like that one we were talking about before, with the broken tine. I'm gonna try to figure out what him and that other deer are doing for sure, where they're bedding, and kind of figure out where they're coming from and going, and the ends of their ranges and stuff, at least on that particular farm. And then I might have one left over to put somewhere. But I checked, and I don't know if I talked to you yet, the 2 cameras on yours there in the woods, and I think I told you that. I hadn't really got anything. Some does, same does that we know are there, that spike that we've seen before. But I don't.
the goofy spike.
No, it's just a regular spike. But I don't look.
Scrappy.
No, I don't
Scrappy.
think
That's
so.
Jeff's name for him. Scrappy.
I like Scrappy. I'd like to let him go for a couple of years to see
see what he
kind
does.
of
Well, I'm
non-typical
not gonna
it turns
shoot him.
into. Huh?
I'm not going to shoot him.
Well, I ain't gonna waste a buck tag on him now, but I'm just saying, in a couple of years, I think.
Well, you might if he gets down about the last day of the season or something.
No,
Okay.
if he gets down
Might as well
last
let
day
him
of
go.
season and I'm still hunting, I ain't hunting for him.
Yeah, but if he happens to
Because by
saunter
then
by,
it's cold and I got a good reason.
If
to
he's
be
made it that long, though, you might as well just let him go now.
oh yeah, I'm not going to shoot him just to see.
That I don't look for those cameras to really heat up too much though until
Yeah, about 2 more weeks.
usually. So since I've been running cameras there, and I went back and looked the other day, and based on when I've seen deer there, outside of that one on the 16th of October, which he just happened to be in there and had found the clover. Like, I'm satisfied he was just lost and he'd found it. But other than that, like that October, like 29th to November 2nd is where I've seen most of the deer, most of the bucks, good bucks show up in there.
That's why I keep
Yeah.
saying Halloween,
Yeah,
Halloween.
I got a good picture on Halloween one year in the original plot. I shot that deer 2 years ago. I missed that deer. That was the one I missed back there on November 1st. I think that was 2 years ago. And then I had another decent picture early November. I don't remember the exact date in the same original food plot. So I really don't look for that to heat up too much until that late November, probably early November, first few days of November time frame. That's when we usually start to see those deer show up there. So I'm not too discouraged about it yet. And like I was saying, we've got the green and we've got the water. So I think when that corn's out, when they find it,
we got the does.
yeah, when they find it, they're going to be in there pretty regular.
Your dad killed a nice doe out there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we talked about it last
Yeah,
week.
on the north end of that 20.
Well, I wasn't here last week.
Yeah. No, we talked about it a little bit last week. And that we've got a pretty, like you said, we got a decent herd of does in there, seems like.
She was dry.
You'd seen some
She
that
hadn't
night.
raised a young'un.
No, I think my lab brought her a young one up early this
Well,
That's what we
I mean,
talked
that's
about.
that's plausible.
Now,
right?
whether he killed it or not, or he just found it, I don't know. But
Right. Yeah, that was potentially the one that I had the picture of there in the clover plot early.
yeah, because just a week or
Oh.
two later, that he brought a dead fawn up to the house. So,
Yeah.
but that's also right about the time I lost that Chihuahua to
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Yeah.
bobcat or coyote, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
I got another call from the guy that farms some of the ground I hunt. He's usually pretty good about calling me and letting me know when they're getting crops out and stuff within a day or the day of. And he'd called me and told me they were getting the beans out tonight of one place, and he said he saw a nice 10-pointer in there. And I told him about the pictures I had, the one that probably 3.5-year-old 10 that I'd showed you guys pictures of. And he said that sounded like him. Didn't have a lot of mass, but real pretty framed deer. So it sounds like he's still hanging around. And then I got that younger 8-point again out there. But
And I don't know if you guys talked about this the last time or not, but that's one thing that, well, just like the night me and you went hunting and you was able to get that doe. You know, if combines are running, man, you need to be out there.
mm-hmm.
And, you know, you was like, well, I got a combine, I got wagons, tractors, and everything else. I'm like, just sit it out. And deer will come out to see what's going on, you know, as soon as they leave. And sure enough, you know, the combines left, and what was it, 40 minutes?
Probably, yeah.
That the deer would come out and you was able to harvest that big doe.
I think they come out. That's pretty regular for them to come out like that, because they came out into the field, and then I was sitting in a climber in Oak Flat. They came out in the field and then went right to the Oak Flats rather than staying in the beans, because he'd left some. There were some greener beans along the edge there, and I actually talked to him after that. He said he left them just as kind of, he wasn't going to harvest them anyway, and he thought, well, the deer will eat on them. But they passed them up, went into the open field, and then came into the acorns that were falling this year. So,
Yeah, that's when they're running them. You got a good chance of them jumping something out of there and potentially running them into the cover if that's where you're at.
And the deer around this area, the Midwest, they're familiar with farm equipment.
Yeah.
You know, it don't really.
that's all they've ever known. It doesn't bother them.
And they know when the farm equipment's running. Well, you know, they'll go out there and investigate to see what's going on. And
Then, like I said, they may run them out while they're running them, but then when they're gone, if you can get in there within the 12-hour period after they get a cornfield shelled or a bean field cut, you're likely to see a good number of deer, whether you see that big deer or not.
Right.
You're going to have a good chance, I think. Cause
That's that deer that you got to mount came from a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
The guy told me he knew that deer was hanging out in the ditch, and the combine was running in the field, and he thought, I need to be there. And sure enough.
Like you said, they're used to that. They've been around it all their life. So they know when they're out, whatever is left in that field is there now for them to go get.
Right.
And the reason I say you need to be in there pretty quick is because, like we've talked about before, the equipment nowadays doesn't leave enough stuff behind for it to last very long. Those deer are going to pick through that thing
and
pick it clean so fast.
Yeah. Not only that, you got the well, they're still diesel so far, unless Joe and the rest of them have their way. They'll have to stop and solar charge and everything else halfway through the day. But,
right.
You know, you got the noise from the combines and from the equipment and stuff, so you can kind of get away with more, you know, while those are running.
And they're going to be focused on those two. They're watching them.
Right.
So.
You know, and so, yeah, you have, I don't know if it opens up a bigger window opportunity for you or not, but I just enjoy being out there whenever the combines and tractors and stuff are running, because the deer are paying more attention to them than they are everything else.
It definitely piques their interest. And actually the first picture I got of Spencer, that's what we're calling that buck that I showed you before. Amanda named it.
Oh, okay.
So she had her own reason for it. But anyway, the first picture I got of him was the night that they got done shelling that corn. And then I got Ghost is the other one there, we're calling him, that same night. Well, early the next morning. So that just goes to prove what you're talking about. Maybe if they'd have got done shelling that corn, like if it had been daytime and it had been there that evening, maybe they're in there a little earlier. But I wasn't there regardless, so it didn't matter. But it just proves the point. Yeah. And actually, I think I talked about him with Nate a little bit last week. I don't know if you remember Bill Winkie. So he was on Midwest Whitetail, and he quit here pretty recently, and now he's doing his own thing again. But I remember watching him on a hunt a couple years ago now, maybe in 2019. Of course, a lot of those guys, like, they're hunting out of those redneck blinds and whatever, or muddies.
Right.
I can't remember the brand he was affiliated with at the time, but his farmer let him know he was going to shell the corn. So he had the blind on a trailer So he just took the blind out there with his pickup truck and put it in the shelled corn that night and killed a really nice buck because he knew the same thing we're talking about. You got a really good chance of seeing those deer because they've been waiting for that too, to a certain extent, because like I said, that's the easiest pickings for them. That's going to be the easiest picking for them as far as food goes, corn goes especially, all year, is as soon as those combines get out of there.
And not only that, it reduces their cover, so it forces them to the fence rows and to the ditches and to the timber and stuff. You know.
Yeah, and you'll see the effects
like
of that.
right now,
after.
you know, I'm hunting these standing cornfields and stuff, and it's wearing me out because, you know, I might be what looks like a good spot, but the deer are coming out 50 yards from me, and I can't see them because of the standing corn, you know, and so I'm missing them in that.
Yeah, when he gets done with that, it'll be like clear cutting 40 acres.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where the one I said.
And I was disappointed tonight because he had the combine parked. Evidently, his bins are full and he's batch drying, so
That's where
he might get them done by 1st of November. Who
Right.
knows?
when I saw that shooter driving out the other day, they had shelled the first couple passes of that cornfield and then quit for whatever reason. Like you said, maybe they filled up their bins or something, and he was out in the shelled part of that cornfield, but as soon as I drove by in the truck, he went back into the standing stuff. So I'm pretty sure he was at least standing there that night.
Yep.
And that's one that I haven't seen or got pictures of since the night they shelled corn on where I'm hunting. So I wonder if he's not staying up in there.
No, I'm sure they are.
Yeah, that's a challenge that you got right now, you know. And if you can find, if you're in a spot where the corn is shelled and you've got that cover, like your woods, for example, when that corn's out, that's going to be the best route they have to take through there is the woods, the timber.
Yep.
So, and then that's going to force them through the food plot too. So it's going to help find that. And there's times where if you do have some standing corn, it can be a benefit too, because maybe if your neighbor doesn't, they're going to be more likely to be on your property. It's just still a matter of getting them out of there or catching them when they're coming in and out.
Yep.
But yeah, that's definitely what we're fighting right now. But that gives you a chance to sit in the corn like you did the other night.
Yeah, it's interesting till, you know, about, what did I tell you, it's got 15 minutes before dark. All the birds decide to roost in the corn stalks next to me.
Yeah.
I was freaking out thinking I had deer, you know, 3 rows from me or not, and then it's just birds. But
Yep. So, yeah, that's definitely one thing this time of year that's happening is the harvest and all that with the corn coming out. And as dry as it's been, a lot of guys should be getting them out here within, I think, the next week or so if it stays dry. But just depends on. I know a lot of guys are going to be finishing up within the next week. Now, depending on where you're at, like what you're talking about around your woods, heck, it might be the 1st of November still yet. But
yeah, and I mean, that's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But
it ain't hurting us any, really. I mean,
No, it's actually kind of a little bit of a draw.
we're just not
If that's-
seeing them right
If that's
now.
the only
yeah,
corn
that's
around.
the thing. We're not seeing them right now, but as soon as the rut comes in, you know, if that standing corn's still there, we can have a lot of fun. Even, you know, you can stay out of the woods and hunt the corn, you know.
Yep. I think that plot
I should have had
stand-
my butt kicked tonight for not. Whenever
Sitting
I
on that
seen,
north end?
yeah, whenever I seen that doe
Oh.
going to the creek, I should just jumped in about 3 rows of corn,
Yeah.
set up and sat there
Wait for her to come back.
and wait for her or whatever else to come out there
Mm-hmm.
instead of going to the tent. But I was focused on water. I had that in my brain. You know, it's warm today. They's going to have something to drink, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing her walk to the creek, that reinforced it. And
Yeah. There's a water hole where he was cutting beans tonight that I was telling you about, where that buck's at, that younger buck. When I went a couple weeks ago, still had a decent amount of water in it, and I mean, it looked like a hog waller around it. When I went back last night, there was maybe the size of this table still wet in the middle of that little watering hole. So if you got a pond, especially if you've got any kind of green food source like clover that's going to have some moisture in it,
Yep.
that's going to be like a magnet right now, which is one, I guess, benefit to it being so dry if you're a hunter. But you got to have it, and you got to have the right situation, the right wind to hunt it and all that. So that goes into it too, and the right way to get in and out of it. If you've got a water hole, though, that's not close to any bedding or anything, then it's not really going to make a difference. They're not going to go that far to get to water. They're going to waste more energy getting there than they are going to benefit from it.
Unless you're like my property in Hamilton County, where I have to walk around the standing cornfield and past the water hole to get to my stand.
Right.
I refuse to go there in the mornings because I've been there twice in the mornings, and every time I got busted because they was bedded down by the pond
They're
where
still
they water, and I had to walk by them to get to my stand.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know, a guy maybe could set up on the opposite side in those or the pine trees on the other side of that pond, if you had the right wind, from like where your stand.
yeah,
is.
you'd have to have a directly west wind,
Yeah.
but then you go into a cattle pasture. But there is an open.
And
There is a shelled cornfield on the other side of the cattle pasture.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mornings, I don't know if maybe they might be coming from that shelled cornfield through the pasture to the pond and then going to the bedding area or not.
Mm-hmm. And we saw some pretty good trails there. Was it this last winter when we walked that shed hunting?
Yeah, the spring was shed.
Where do you
Yeah.
think they're bedding that?
Where do I think they're bedding that?
Yeah.
Well, they're bedding there in the pine thicket around that pond.
Yeah.
Or in the standing cornfield, one of the two.
Yeah.
So they're already on their bed, in their bedding area when you walking in.
Of a morning, yeah.
Most of the time, I think. Well, did we talk about that last week? I think maybe that's the reason I brought up Winky last week. There was something interesting that I thought. He was talking about a deer he'd killed last year, and he was going in there and actually sleeping because he had, kind of like where you're at, he had no good way to get in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd just take like a little camp set up, a bag, and he would sleep in there at night. And he said one thing that he kind of learned from doing that was most of the time, and obviously during the rut and different times of year it changes, but most of the time those deer are back in their bed pretty considerably before daylight, So it's not necessarily that, like in the mornings, you're catching them going back to their bed. That's why early season it's hard to hunt mornings a lot, because they're already in their bed before daylight breaks.
Yeah,
so I'm
told
sure
you-
that's what's going on.
Yeah, I
like
told
you're
you
talking
that
about.
the other morning when I walked in there around the corner there of the standing corn to go to the stand, and I scanned out there by the pond, and I seen 6 sets of eyes laying down,
Yep.
there in the
It's bedded up.
field around the pond.
Yep.
And then I got to my stand anyways. They didn't blow, but then I got to my stand. Well, then when they come in there, the wind had swished, and that old doe started blowing at me, and it was all over with.
Mm-hmm. Now
I didn't
here,
even see a damn turkey.
yeah. Now even they knew that sound.
Yeah.
Even now, here in another week though, you might be able to catch them as they stay out later and later of a night in the night, and then in the morning maybe able to catch them going back in there. The bucks and stuff running their scrapes and looking for the first does, but this time of year, especially in early season, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
And if they're not back in their bed, they're out in a main food source. So if you got to walk by that, like that cornfield, for example,
Yep.
it's tough too. So, but
Yeah, that property is going to have some challenges.
hmm
I can see that already, and I know who farms the standing cornfield, and that might be there till Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's one of those places that if you can catch it right between this lull and the really start of the rut, where most guys are going to start hunting that state ground in November, if you can catch that week, like the 25th to 30th, 31st, maybe you catch a buck cruising through there before anybody else is in there after them, before they're pressured too much.
You mean
Checking
of
those-
October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they could pressure them over on you.
Yeah.
Well,
Off
yeah,
the state ground.
I mean, I'm sure that can happen too. And then 25th of November, maybe, you get in there and find a buck running around because he's been pushed over there.
I got a pretty good guess that the 25th of November, your dad's going to have me tied up.
Yeah.
That's a damn good guess.
I'm just,
Yeah, you can bank on that, buddy.
I'm just thinking about the second week of November, my
Yeah.
hunting's done.
Yeah,
How's
that's
your,
pretty much over.
Food plot looking down there
Where?
at the place we're talking about?
Hamilton County?
Yeah.
It looks good. We watched a card yesterday, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And we seen some does and stuff
Turkeys.
grazing on the food plot. It's mostly grasses.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of clover in there. I think it's mostly the ryegrass and that.
Yeah. Just the lack of moisture, I'm sure, has a lot to do
Yeah.
with that.
But we noticed, you picked it up, Scott, on that licking branch that we hung up and stuff.
Mhm.
We noticed some bucks working on that in the video, didn't we?
Yes, we did. But you haven't dressed that in a couple of weeks, have you?
I ain't touched it.
Yeah.
Since
So they're keeping it fresh.
last
if
time
they're
you-
working
I
it.
ain't touched that since first weekend of October.
well, when we put it up, you dressed it. That's the last time it's been dressed.
No, well, he dressed it back in. When made you
remember
put that up?
When you hung the stand.
When we hung the stand.
I don't know. You went in there one time after that.
I went in there
think.
first weekend of October.
Yeah.
Did you dress the licking branch then?
I dressed it with
Okay.
the Ridgehunter buck tarsal spray,
Mhm.
you know, so that you can buy here in downtown Wayne City.
That's right. Yeah. Or online.
Or online. Yeah. But
Shipped out of Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. So if you're in
But-
Illinois, it might take a while.
But I did. I dressed it up the first weekend of October during the first hunting
Okay,
season.
well, the point of
it ain't
the
been
whole story
touched since
is
then.
it hasn't been dressed since then, and they're
No.
working on it.
They were working on it.
Because
Anything
I seen
from-
that on the camera.
We seen, yep.
Anything from last year yet? Seen any bucks from last year yet?
Not the one I was wanting to see.
Seen anything decent? Yeah. Hard to tell based on the video.
Let's just say no.
Yeah, I want to go with no.
Yeah, we're gonna go with no.
Okay. Borderline younger deer.
Not that I'm trying to hide anything from anybody that might be listening. We're just going with no.
Yeah, borderline young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, borderline young.
Potential.
Yeah.
2 more years, dandies. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, no.
Not the
And-
one from last year though.
No.
For sure.
Not yet. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hope he
Never know.
shows up. But
Never know. That's what.
If he's, I think that one you're talking about. If he was taken legally, we would have heard about it.
oh yeah.
Just because
So,
of the.
hopefully
characteristic of
hopefully
it.
he's still there.
I mean, it's not like he's a 200-inch deer or anything, but he just had that
No, but
odd
you hear
characteristic.
something.
You
like
would have
that.
heard about it.
Yeah.
As close as we are to that,
Yeah.
even if it's not customers, we would have heard about it.
Yep. And not only that,
Unless it was
not
poached.
from customers, but also from people I deal with from my work over on that side of the county.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, from both sides of the county.
Yeah.
You know, I would have heard
Well,
about
you're
it.
practically famous.
Regionally, that's what. So Nate was telling me, and I'll tell you guys this after because I don't really want to say it on the podcast yet. But he was talking to a guy today, who is, I guess, maybe somewhat notable. If you, well, anyway, I'll just leave that where it is. But
Notable for what?
I asked him.
Hell, you're notable, Jeff.
Yeah, but you got to realize where we're at.
Yeah, I asked him how about this? The people he's associated with you would recognize them. So I asked him if he told him that he was
Here we go.
regionally almost famous. If he knew he was a regionally almost famous podcaster. He said he didn't. So why he wouldn't pull that card, I don't know. I think that'd be a trump to about anything. If you're on the Ridgehunteroutdoors podcast, my gosh,
And Nate is regular.
he is.
He's definitely
co-host.
regional,
The cowboy.
and he's definitely famous.
I said he's regionally almost famous.
Oh, I'm telling you, from being a cowboy, he's more than almost famous.
Well, only in certain crowds.
Certain circles,
Yes,
apparently.
Apparently, they had heard about him up north.
He
in
had.
Iowa.
I don't know if his girlfriend had, but he had.
He had been
He was
there.
afraid of it.
Well, see, Nate is the only one of us that had been up there before,
That's what I'm saying.
so they knew about him. Obviously,
They've heard.
at least the guy did,
Yeah.
because he was scared for his life,
Well, no, he was scared for his woman.
life, whatever.
Well, yeah, same thing.
So anyway, no, we covered what's been going on with your hunting. We covered the shop. We got anything else?
What about your hunting?
I've been 4 times, and then I kind of talked about the last 2 times. I saw a handful of deer about 5 o'clock. They come out in the shelled cornfield Tuesday night, and then had that fork horn walk underneath me, but no shooters. And then got in and out clean, so it wasn't like I heard anything. And then I went last night to the place where those beans were cut that he jumped that younger buck out of, and I saw the one deer when I was at the truck. And then by the time I got back there, she'd already worked off and didn't see anything that night. Pulled the card on the camera, got that one decent young 8 again. Mm-hmm. He'd been in there in the daylight. I think he's probably bedding in there. They do tend to bed in there some because it's thick where that's at, and it's pretty centrally located between food and the river bottoms. So But I don't know if there's anything big in there yet. I still got the camera running, so we'll see. I'll probably move it here if I go back there in the next week or so. That's just a good spot. Like right now, not one of my best spots. If I screw something up there, I'm not too worried about it because I know I got other places to go. So it's kind of I'm getting the itch to go out there. I'll go to that place if I got the right wind. I'm still going to be smart about it, but again, if I mess something up, I'm not too concerned. But no, I haven't been doing a lot of hunting because, you know, I talked about it a lot. I don't want to use up my hunting capital where every time you go in there and don't kill that buck, you're lessening your chance of killing him because there's that much more intrusion. So I'm trying to stay out of the best spots right now because we just haven't had the best weather.
A lot of the best bucks I killed was the first time I've ever been in that.
Yeah, and that's I mean there's a reason for that because, like I said, the more you go in there, the less likely you're gonna probably be to kill that buck because you're leaving scent every time you go in there. No matter how much you think you have scent management locked down, as a comment I saw on Facebook here a little while ago.
It don't matter.
Yeah. You're leaving scent, you're making noise going in and out, so if anything sees you, if a doe sees you, if that buck sees you one time and knows what you are, if he knows you're hunting him,
and them deer can pattern you too. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, we're patternable too.
Yeah.
Just like we try to pattern the deer. If you make yourself patternable to them, like if they see your truck pull up and then you shoot one of their buddies, or doe that night, or they see your truck pull up and you blow out the whole field of deer, they're going to know that next time that truck pulls up, probably something bad could potentially happen. So, like I said,
I've seen that
danger,
happen
danger.
at the Legion.
Yeah.
Stranger danger.
I've seen that happen at the Legion.
Yeah.
Truck pulls up and potentially something bad can happen.
It's time to leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that
Well,
one.
Fry's locking down some more does or something.
That wasn't the case.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive.
Okay.
So I've been trying to be pretty patient, and like I said, I've only been out 4 times, and really the first time I went for like an hour, just sat because I set up that camera. But
that's like me this week. You know, I suppose I had 4 days off, down to 3. I can go back to work tomorrow.
Money whore.
Well, I got other issues I got to address, but for one, like keeping this tooth in my head.
yeah,
The only one you got left? Or what?
No, I got more than one, but I'm focused on this
When you
one
said
right now.
tooth,
So anyway, for those of you who don't know, I have to go to.
we don't care.
I have to go to the dentist Wednesday, and so I'm trying to
for fear of swallowing your tooth.
for
If it
fear
falls
of
out in your
swallowing my
sleep.
tooth, but it has not prevented me from hunting.
There you go.
But anyway,
It did this morning.
It did this morning.
You told me.
It's hurting like
That or
something.
you lied to me.
No, I
one or
wasn't
two.
lying. It hurt. But anyways, every opportunity that I've had to go hunting on my time off this week, I went to a different location.
Spreading it out.
Spreading it out, surveying, seeing what was here and what was there and what wasn't. You know, I got excited when we watched our videos because I hadn't had any bucks on camera there in that one property, and then what did we say? In 2 days we had 4 or 5 different bucks.
Yeah, I think 5, right?
And
Yeah.
so, you know, they're moving. They just ain't moving in
None of them shooting hours.
legal hours right now.
Right.
Right.
None of them shooting hours.
But, you know, they're going to progress. It's going to get there.
Yeah, their daylight movement range is going to expand as the rut gets closer. So, and that's actually one thing I talked about on the full draw Friday that's going to come out tomorrow. That will have been the past Friday when this comes out. Was like people talking about nocturnal bucks a lot. Most of the time, the bucks are moving during the daylight. They just might not be moving on you. So, like if you've spooked that deer, and now he's gone nocturnal in air quotes. More likely, what happened is you spooked him over 2 properties, and now he's only making it to you at night. So it's not like they go to where they just move at night, but like in your case where you got those bucks, now you're seeing them. They're just getting closer and closer to being in daylight. So maybe here in the next week or 2, they're moving more in the daylight, and they make it to that spot. Where
Yeah,
they're
I
still
hunted
shooting light.
I hunted that property one evening and one morning, and I ain't been there since.
Mhm.
You know, and the camera told me everything I needed to know, so stay out there.
Yeah.
The only thing that has really aggravated me about that property is Last year I didn't have a turkey permit, and I was beat to death by turkeys. And this year I ain't seen a damn turkey out of the stand yet.
Yeah.
We've still got them on camera, though.
We've got them on camera, but I can't.
Yep. And you know what you're talking about, they're spreading it out and not hunting that too much is what's the point until it's the best time of year to go in there anyway?
Right.
I mean, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to get a little more aggressive if you want to try to get after those. You're going to have to push it a little bit. But once it gets to that point, then it's like, what's it hurt? Because you're not going to get to hunt that much more anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But we're not to that point yet.
No, and even though I'm right next to public ground, you know, the temptation's there. It's like, well, you know, if you get a shot at one of these deers, okay, it may not be what you really want, but it's on public ground. If I don't shoot him, somebody else will.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to stay out of that mindset, and I'm still trying to be
Still trying to kill mature deer and
kill
something
mature.
you want. Well, something you want to kill.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just something that you're killing just because it's next to state ground. It's something you want to kill because you
Yep.
like the deer.
Yep.
Yeah. For whatever reason, whether it's age or antlers or
Right.
both. Yeah.
And so, you know, it has potential to have good bucks there, but that's more or less my meat place.
Right.
You know, it doesn't bother me to shoot a doe out there.
Yeah. Like where they're at your house. Dad shot that one out of there. And like he talked about last week, going to kind of reevaluate what we need to do as far as that goes. But we've talked about it before. We're not going to hold bucks in there anyway, so we're really not concerned about having too many does because that's going to be one of the biggest draws here at the beginning of November for the bucks to come through.
Right.
So, yeah, if you can have somewhere else to shoot does. And that's like where I was talking about going. I'd have shot a doe there, no problem, and not worried about intruding and bumping a buck out.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know there's potential for one to be bedding around there, it's just not fun to hunt very much. So if I'm looking to kill a doe, it's probably where I'm going to go.
Yep.
And I know I have a good chance because there's good deer numbers there, just guessing them on the right night.
It is nice in the spring or whatever to look out there in my backyard and see deer going to the food plot.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, even if it is just does, you know.
Right. Yep. So, we got anything else for this week?
All good.
All right.
Yeah. It's,
Get out there after them if you got the right wind and the right weather. If you got the right spot. Try to be a little careful this time of year or get real aggressive, I guess. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
However you want to hunt, get out there and do it. Just be safe about it. Wear your harnesses. Be smart. We'll catch you guys again next week. Thanks for listening.